Hey Siri, put my phone on. I don't even think I can do it on here. But anyway, my bad, y'all. So that's the second time I done had to do two different lives. Um, my bad, y'all. So learning about how the Lord is going to speak to you and learning your own spirit, your own language. Okay, it's the same thing I say all the time when it's like referencing, and I'm telling y'all about speaking to your spirit names and your spirit names and your spirit guides and things like that. It's the same thing with the Lord, right? Learning how he speaks to you, learning how he talks to you, and just understanding what he's saying, right? Um, but again, it's not for anyone else to try to tell us how to develop that language. We can only, if you don't do numbers, then I saw, and it's crazy because I see this all the time, y'all, where people will be like, oh, there ain't no angel numbers and all of that. And I'm just like, man, y'all, and I be trying, like, I don't, it doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't trigger me or anything like that. But it blows my mind that people are still trying to say what God is and what God ain't. And I'm just not on that, y'all. Like and I think and I can even say this in conversations with God, I'll be like, Daddy, it makes it so hard sometimes because let's say, for example, and I understand that people learned a certain way and they have their own level of understanding, but it also just makes it, I feel like it makes it so difficult for people who are becoming believers, that if the Lord is speaking through numbers, which we know or people, let me just say this, like people trying to differentiate, right? People trying to differentiate, like, oh, this ain't about angel numbers. And it's just like, well, that's cool. But if it's still leading to scripture, then would it be more would it be better if you just said, oh, this is a God number? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's of course my prayer and my hope that people would stop trying to, because God made everything is good. It's us that turns things into things that it's not. And so it oftentimes it baffles me that people are still, but let me also say this, and this is no disrespect to anyone, and this is just something that the Lord told me. For people who are so limited in their thinking of how God will and won't communicate with people, it will also keep them from knowing a lot about the Lord. And because when I talked to the Lord about that, he was just like, there will be a different level of understanding. There will be some of the people who are like, oh, God don't do this and God don't do that. It speaks to Jeremiah 33:3. Call to me and I will show you great and unsearchable things that you do not know. And so it's a lot of things that people who are so closed-minded will not be able to understand. There are people that the Lord is awakening who are going to have so much more of an understanding of God than people of old, and it's why he's doing a new thing. It's why he's making people have new levels of awareness. People who are so stuck in their traditions of what God will and won't do, there's only a certain level of understanding that they will be able to have. So they won't understand why people who are, let's quote unquote new of the faith, or newly awakened, if you will have so much more understanding than what they have, because we're not limiting God. We're not limiting the way that he can speak to us. We ain't trying to put him in a box. We not saying he is this and he ain't that, because God is everything. And so there are people, and it's almost like we talked about the prodigal son as well, where there will be people who may, and this is speaking, they're bringing this up in the form of gifts, right? It's like people who will have you may be a person who has a completely different awareness and level of understanding and of God than someone else who says that they've been a believer. And I'm not knocking anyone, but it's simply understanding that God will reveal more to people who are willing to accept him in more than just the traditional ways. That's why the Pharisees wouldn't accept Jesus, right? Because they were so stuck on the law that they didn't understand that Jesus was coming to fulfill the law. And so Some of you, this is where the jealousy and the envy and the things, this is why the Lord is preparing you for it, because there will be there's levels to this, but many of you, he's, come on Spirit, he's advancing you in things of the kingdom. He's advancing you in spiritual things and spiritual matters and spiritual understanding. He's expanding and expounding upon gifts that he is awakening within you. And there are some people, and it says this, and I don't know exactly where it is, but Jesus literally tells his disciples, he was like, there are things that you are seeing that the prophets and the people of old wish that they could have seen. But it's about understanding, because the people who he's awakening now, come on truth, the people he's awakening now, we're not trying to say that God can't do this, that, or the third. We understand he can do whatever he wants to do. And so some people will even be limited by their own beliefs and what they think God is, or what he ain't, or how he can and can't, all of that. So for some of you, understand that the level of envy and jealousy is going to be more than it may not have anything to do with your resources, your status. Come on Spirit, it can simply be about the fact that people can be envious of your gifts. They can be envious of things that you aren't thinking anything about. You're simply just receptive more in the spirituals. You're simply allowing the Lord to use you maybe in a different way. And there are people who will never have that, but it's not because the Lord wouldn't allow them to. It's because they may be limiting themselves insofar as what they're willing to accept from the Lord, or their own beliefs or own biases, which will allow them to be blind. With those, like, that's where the Lord talks about those that have eyes to see, right, and ears to hear. If you're willing to truly allow the Lord to let you see, then you will see. And if you don't, then you won't. And so so for some of you, the envy is not, it may not have anything to do, the jealousy or the attacks may have nothing to do with any kind of like money. You may not be a person of status, but you may be, the Lord gives us gifts, right? And so you may be just very highly gifted in a multitude of ways, and there may be people who are not necessarily happy about that. So just be mindful of that. As the Lord increases your gifts, there may be some people who are envious of that. I don't know. Anyway, moving on from that. So we are not friends with criminals, like you referencing that poor, oh child. Anyway, okay, I'm back. So anyway, it's about understanding how the Lord is talking to you. They shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, which are fairly, part of Isaiah 61:1. Let me just say this: the wealth and honor of the Gentile converts shall, I don't know what that says, to the benefit and the credit of the church, the Gentiles shall be brought. Many of you, he's getting ready to advance you in things of business, to where maybe you were working for others, but now you're also going to, it's like he's getting ready to start positioning you so that you will have people working up under you, also having people who want to give to you. So this is like maybe people coming in to be generous to you. This may not be everybody, because only you know where you are, but this is just people wanting to be generous to you and maybe helping you. So some of you, he's bringing people, destiny helpers into your life that will be able to help you and will be a resource to you as well. And whatever you received, of course, is to be devoted to the glory of God and used in and for his service. And let's see, they shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, which are fairly and honorably presented to them. So many of you, the Lord there may be people coming in and gifting you with things as well. And they're referencing like a worker should be paid for their weight, or should be paid for their work, right? There's nothing better in riches than to use them and to do good with them. So do the right things with the blessings that the Lord is giving you. They shall boast themselves in their glory, whatever is their glory after their conversion, their holy zeal and strictness of conversation. And so, yes, and okay, thank y'all. Look, you're not going to be able to associate with everybody on this new level that you're on. And I didn't quite understand it, but the Lord is kind of showing it to me now. You're not you're not going to be able to associate with everybody. And I used to have this idea that, you hear people say, I'ma still be the same person forever. I'ma still be the same no matter what level I get to. I'ma still be the same. You hear people say this all the time. But trust and believe that you're not still going to be the same. When the Lord begins to elevate your circle, when the Lord begins to put you around different people in different rooms in different communities, you're not going to be the same person, because a different you is required to be in those environments and in those circles and in those places. It's great for us to think that, but understanding this, as the Lord, you can't be that same person on the new level. You just can't. You can't be the same person on the new level. And so for many of you, and that used to be me, like, I'm gonna be the same forever. It's like, no, there's no way. So for some of you, this is why he's requiring you to grow as well. He's requiring you to grow in the way that maybe you speak, the way that you communicate. You definitely have to elevate your mindset. Look at the bee that just flew on my windshield, y'all. Hey, y'all. You have to elevate, because you're not, and I don't, well, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, because who's gonna check me? For lack of a better example, let me just say this. You ain't gonna be in a billionaire room being ratchet. Like, what? And that's what they're showing me. So that's the example I'm giving, right? That is just like, you ain't gonna be up there fraternizing, and I'm just using billionaires as an example. You're not gonna be in the billionaire room twerking, okay, like being ratchet, because you've leveled up. It requires some stuff to get to that level and be in those rooms and being around those people. And so you cannot be on that same level as and be in those same environments. So for some of you, that's one of the requirements, is why you have to level up. You have to be on a certain level, in a multitude of ways. This is spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You have to be at a certain level, but all of this happens in your processing and refining that you go through. So just understand this, as a new level. There's some people, this is why some people can't go with you. This is why everybody's not going to understand your conversation. Hey, dearest one. Hey, Sandy. Everyone's not going to understand your conversation. You're not going to want to have the same, because the conversations that you're going to want to have with people, the people who, unfortunately, and they can always level up, but the kind of conversations that you're going to want to have, people who are not at that level are not going to understand. They're not going to resonate with it. So for some of you, that's part of your training, is as the Lord is preparing you for new places and spaces, you have to level up to the level that you want to get to and the people that you want to be around. And it really has nothing to do, it's maturity. So many of you, this is just, we talk a lot about spiritual maturity, but this is just having a different countenance as well. Some of you, the Lord is allowing people to see a different side of you in regards to, how you deal with people, right? How you deal with people, how maybe, I don't know, maybe people had a certain, I don't know, it's just like the Lord allowing people to see a part of you that, I don't want to say that they didn't know existed, but it's more so like, when you level up in multiple ways, it shows. That's the thing, right? When you level up in multiple ways, it shows. You're just not the same person. You don't act the same, you don't speak the same. You're a different person. And so for many of you, it's those things that people are going to be a reflection of the Lord. Like, people are going to see the difference in you. You're not going to have the same kind of talk for them. You're not going to converse the same way. Because you're going to be, it's thinking of you showing up in the image of the Lord, right? Which is what we're striving for. And so people are going to have a new level of respect for you because of what the Lord is now allowing them to see of you. The new level of power and authority that the Lord is giving you because of the works that he's done within you. So, and this is nothing to boast about, but this is simply knowing that you've done a lot of work on yourself. The Lord has done a lot of work in and with and through you. And so it's going to be reflected. It's going to be reflected in the favor that is coming into your life. It's going to be reflected in the people that he's bringing around you. Just got to say this for whoever this is for. This is not about trying to be accepted. Okay, like not trying to be accepted, but there are people who are going to just look at you a little different. And this is, and I'm saying this because of what I'm looking at here in the notes, right? It's like there are people who previously rejected you who are now going to accept you. But again, be mindful, just like it's not a boast or a flex or a brag or anything like that, but there are people who maybe rejected you previously who are now going to accept you, and the Lord will deal with them for whatever that rejection was. But don't be surprised if people who once, you know, who rejected you in some way are now coming back, like taking a second look. Okay. Those that were strangers shall become fellow citizens with the saints, and with them they shall bring all they have to be devoted to the glory of God and used in his service. In the so don't be surprised about that, y'all. The strictness of conversations, their usefulness, their patience, sufferings, and all displays of the blessed change with which divine grace has made in them shall be very much for the glory of God, and therefore all good men shall glory in it. They shall have an abundance of comfort and satisfaction. Many of you are stepping into a whole new world. The kingdom of God is like a whole new world. And now knowing how to value their property, their freedom, your pleasures, your comforts, you will continue to value them. Okay. And be like fresh, and like things will continue to bloom for you and blossom for you. Okay. So just know that. Like things, because again, you've learned to be grateful for the things that the Lord is blessing you with. And so, you'll value those things. Okay. Anything else? The grace of God shall be evident in them, and his favor towards them, that they shall acknowledge them to be the seed which the Lord has blessed and does bless. So yes, that's about your children, a generation of the upright. Some of you, the Lord is getting ready to distinguish you amongst other people. Okay. Hey, there's one. The Lord is getting ready to distinguish you amongst, and which I said again, even amongst great men. So for some, and I don't know, maybe this is about, and again, y'all, there are levels to this, but whatever the Lord is restoring you with, first of all, he has found you deserving of it. The distinguishing part, like distinguishing you amongst great men. I don't know. So maybe he's putting you around people who have some elevation or some status or something like that. Like he made some of you, as part of your preparation, he prepares you to be, again, in rooms that maybe you gonna be surprised that you even entered those rooms, got in those rooms, are around people. I don't know. You have to take that. Only you know what you're working with the Lord. So he maybe part of your preparation was preparing you to stand in those rooms and be in those places and spaces and not feel inferior. Thank y'all. Not feel inferior to the people who are in there. I don't know, if there may be somewhere that he's getting ready to place you where don't let anyone try to make you feel inferior or less than. Wherever he's placing you, you deserve to be there. Okay. Because you didn't put yourself there. The Lord put you there. So if he's putting you in rooms and even around great men, y'all know we hear about all the time where, you know, your name being mentioned, where your feet haven't even, in rooms your feet ain't even been in yet. And so some of you, the Lord may be giving you an opportunity to enter through those doors, opening those doors, positioning you for that purpose, whatever he's been. Because come on, spirit, for whoever, like whatever, take this how it resonates in your spirituals, but He's been preparing you for great and amazing things. And some of you have had to go through more preparation than others. And so the Lord has been preparing you to be in your rightful place. And everyone has a different level of elevation. Everyone has a different level to which the Lord is going to take them. Some people don't have a desire to be at the very top or amongst kings and queens. Some people are just good where in the place that they're at, or maybe that's exactly where the Lord needs them to be. But for some of you, the Lord is preparing you to be around people of wealth, of influence, of affluence. They're showing me the yacht, which is one of the cards that's in one of the decks that I have. So for some of you, you're being prepared to be put into those types of environments. And so he has to make sure that he's qualifying you to be put in that place. And he wants you to not feel like you're inferior to those people. This is why for some of you right now, he's putting you into certain rooms and he's putting you in certain environments. He's putting you around certain people because it simply is preparation. It's something that I've heard. I heard it from two different people. So I know that it was something I need to pay attention to, insofar as you being prepared for greatness, and also you being prepared to be put into positions of power and authority and around certain people. You never know who's watching. Let me say that. I heard it, the first time I heard it, which was maybe about a week ago, was, I want to say his name is Tyler, the Creator. And I'm not a particular fan of him. My daughter's a fan. So when I saw him on something, he was just like, it was on a reel or something. Shout out Tyler, the Creator. Anyway, and he was like, you never know who's watching. And I then, not even a few days ago, I heard it again. So for some of you, you never know who's watching you. You never know who's paying attention to you. And this doesn't have to just be people of influence or affluence. This can actually be just the people who are surrounding you. You never know who's actually paying attention to you. So just be mindful of that. And the Lord even brought it to me in Bible study, because he was talking about eye service. Literally in my notes, he was talking about eye service, to where you got to make sure that you're serving the Lord no matter whether people can see you or whether they can't. Because even if other people, it's like the Lord always has his eye on us. And so you have to be mindful that you're serving him in the light and in the dark, if that makes sense. And I don't mean walking in darkness. I mean, making sure that you're serving him no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, no matter what is happening. You never know who's watching you. You never know who actually has their eye on you. And for some of you, and again, I've heard it like maybe it was 3 times. I've heard it a few times in the last couple of weeks, to where you never know who's actually watching you and paying attention to you. There's I know, but I'm gonna say it because I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. You never know who's paying attention. And this is the thing. It's nothing, I don't feel like it's anything bad, but you never know who has paid attention to you. You never know who the Lord has sent to watch you, to notice you, to observe you. You never know. And even if the Lord shows you, and many of you he will, you never know who's paying attention and whose radar you're on. Let's just say it that way. You never know whose radar you're on. And so this is the importance of authenticity. This is the importance of just being who you say you are. This is the importance of this is why, and I told the Lord this last week, it's such a blessing, y'all. It is such a blessing to just show up and be who you are every single day. I told the Lord this because, unbeknownst, believe it or not, I ain't got no secrets. And I told the Lord this, and again, conversations with God, and it was in my moment of repentance. And I said, Lord, I'm grateful for the fact that the Lord allowed me to talk about my drug addiction and, losing my nursing license, all this stuff, right? Because a lot of times it's like skeletons in the closet. I don't have any skeletons. And I thank the Lord for that just the other day. I say, Dad, I don't have any skeletons. And so I really had to think about it, because I was just like, is it anything? And it was in a moment where I was talking to the Lord about being ashamed of stuff. And I had a moment where I literally was just able to sit up and say, like, man, I don't have anything that I'm ashamed of. I don't have anything that a person could say, well, I heard you did, and I'm either tell you I did it or I didn't. I don't have anything to lie about. You can't go back in my past and try to pull something and be like, well, oh, ToShae, when you was in, no, because see, I didn't already got all of that out the way. So there's no one who could try to go and pull someone or pull something or, say that. You can't do any of that. And I had to take a moment and thank the Lord for that. Because everybody can't say that. Everybody, it's like when you walk in your truth and you really are who you say you are, people, they gonna have to try to, because so when you can't find anything, people are trying to make up some stuff. But you can't go back in my past and be like, oh, she did it. No, because my past is part of my story, it's part of my message, it's part of my ministry. It's me being able to come up and say, yeah, I did it, this is what happened. So we mentioned and we talked about authenticity the other day, and I had to thank the Lord for that, because everybody can't say that. A lot of times people have stuff that they want to cover up, they want people to never know about, and I just don't have any of those kind of secrets. And it's not to say that the stuff that I've talked about was good, you know what I'm saying, like it wasn't the best things for me to do, but I don't have any secrets for somebody to come and try to pull that out. And so that's the importance of, living in your truth and knowing that the Lord has his eye on you and that he's always watching. And me being able to come from a place of, man, I done repented from that, so the Lord knows about this, child, everybody knows about this, so it's nothing that I have to be ashamed of. So just know that. So yes, back again, thank y'all. Now some of y'all, you never know who's watching, so be mindful of that. But also don't ever feel like you're inferior to someone, because people can have a lot of money and have a ugly spirit, or you know what I'm saying, like people can be at the upper echelon, but that doesn't mean that they're a good person. That just means that maybe they learned some things before you did, right? Maybe they learned how to build before you did. Sometimes people get to the top and or maybe they become not such a good person on the way to the top, right? So you never know. You never know. So that's why we shouldn't feel inferior to anyone, because the Lord didn't make us inferior to anyone. There are people who he's elevated in before us, and that's cool. And we want to speak blessings upon them. We want them to continue to grow and prosper and elevate in everything that the Lord blesses them to do. But it's not to feel like you're beneath anyone. So for whoever this is, if he's putting you in these rooms and environments, please don't feel like, maybe you're new to something, but that doesn't make you less than. Okay. You can't I feel myself moving away. What you mean? I don't know what that means. So just be mindful of that. Like, don't feel like you're less than anyone, whether you know less. You might know less. And if the Lord is putting you in new environments, go in there with knowing that you want to learn, right? Going there knowing that even if, and I saw Kevin Hart say this on a reel the other day, and I was like tracking. There are rooms that the Lord may be putting you in, environments that he may be putting you in, and maybe you know that people don't like you in these environments. Maybe, and you may be in places and you don't know why folks don't like you, and they just don't. For many of you, it's because of your authenticity. It's because people can see who you are a lot of times before you see it in yourself. Sometimes, we talked about this again, being prepared for warfare. Knowing that there are people who are just not gonna like you because your light irritates their demons. Like you got to be okay with that. But if the Lord puts you in that place, then you better believe that you're supposed to be in that place, and you better be in there like you own that place. And this is not walking around flexing, but this is owning who you are and standing in your power, standing in the power and the authority that the Lord has given you to be in that place. And this, most of the time, let me just say this, you don't even have to do anything but what you're supposed to do in that place. If the Lord puts you in somewhere and he puts you around certain people and environments, you just need to be able to hold your own. This is, again, the preparation with the warfare he's been talking about, insofar as being prepared for people to dislike you for no reason, being prepared, like we're not in competition in any places that we're in. We're simply, if you in there and you don't know anything, endeavor to learn as much as you can, right? So just understanding that the Lord is going to put you in some places and you may not feel like you belong, You may be rejected in those places. There may be people who don't like you in those places. And if you were there, you're there because the Lord sent you there. And so you're going to have to stand, plant your feet. And again, this is something I'll talk about it on the messages that are coming out this week, to where we're not running from the enemy. Can we just drop that in the chat? I ain't running. I wasn't going to talk about, well, let me go ahead and put it out here. Let me just say this. The Lord had to give me, the Lord had to show me there have been instances where I have let the enemy run me off from people, from places, from my abundance, from my prosperity. But now the Lord, and I'm not exactly everywhere I'm going to be, but I bet you I won't run. Over the last week or so, even before the Lord sent me to Ephesians 6, he kept telling me that there was a storm coming, and I have it in my notes, but because in the middle of Bible study, he was like, there's a storm coming. So I wrote it down. There's a storm coming. He verified that with a random message that I ended up listening to. And I was like, okay, Lord. And then he verified it again with another message. And I was like, okay, Lord. And so it's about, so for many of you in the past, the enemy was able to scare you off. He was able, and this is no judgment. This is saying that sometimes you're not equipped. And the best example that I can give of this is, well, I can give multiple, but I'll give you this. Many moons ago, when my ego was in control instead of God being in control, my ego allowed me to get into places that I was not prepared for. I wasn't prepared. But my ego, my pride, made me get to where I was going to go. My ego put me in rooms that I wasn't prepared for. I wasn't, hey, Scotland, I wasn't ready for them. So guess what? I got up there and I wasn't ready for it. And I ended up being humbled, okay, because I wasn't ready for it. And I ended up all the way back at the bottom. That was several years ago. But it also prepared me in the fact that it prepared me in my confidence. And so even though I wasn't ready for those particular rooms at the time, it gave me a level of confidence that it let me know that I could do something, right? So fast forward, whole nother situation. And this is a lot of times, even in spiritual communities. So let me just be very clear about that. A lot of times this is in spiritual communities. Everybody got different gifts. And I'm not saying that anybody's gifts are bad. I'm just saying that they're different, right? There are some people who will abuse their gifts. There are some people who don't, like me. There are some people who can hear from angels. There are some people who can't. There are some people who talk to God and are in relationship with him. And there are some people who don't know him at all. Some people don't even know what the Spirit is. They about wouldn't know what the Holy Spirit was if it bit them on the behind. Okay? So as long as you know who you serving and what you're doing, there are people who let me just keep myself in the situation. There have been times when I've been in situations and the Lord may have given me a situation, but I also wasn't strong enough. And this is you having to own and know who you are. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't strong enough in my faith. I wasn't strong enough. I didn't know enough about warfare. I didn't know enough to be in the place where I was at. And so the enemy was able to run me off. But understand this. I'm not easily swayed anymore. Why? Because I serve a big God. And now, unlike then, I know who has my back. I know where my help comes from. I know I may not know everything, but I know enough to pray and call on my angels and tell the Lord to come in and protect me. I know enough now to where I'm not going to run from the same things that I used to run from before. So for many of you, remember this, and you'll hear about this more on the messages this week. The enemy will try to deceive you either by fraud or by force. Okay? By fraud or by force. Before, the enemy was able to force me out of some places because I was afraid. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know, come on, Spirit, I didn't know how to stand on prayer. I didn't know how to call in my angels for protection. I didn't know how to call on God to, Lord, cover me, protect me. Lord, keep me covered in the blood of Jesus. I didn't know how to do all of that. I didn't know how to fight. But over the last, let's say, year and a half, the Lord has since taught me how to fight. And he ain't done teaching me how to fight, which is why you have to be in communion with him, because the stronger you are in God, the enemy will flee from you. And so the Lord may be putting some of you in places and spaces that are going to require you to stand 10 toes down on him, on the word, on his protection, on his love, on his faithfulness. And so he's teaching us how to fight. Many, again, me, I have let the enemy move me before. I have let him make me afraid, but I ain't scared anymore. I'm not scared, because I know that I know God got me. I know that I'm protected. I know that I'm covered. And the reason I know that, because there are so many things, especially in these last 2 years, that should have taken me out that didn't. And trust and believe that the enemy tried multiple times. Things that should have taken me out did not. Everything that the enemy threw at me did not work. No matter how many times they came at me, God still had my back. Again, the trials of Job, no matter what they could, anything that came, I'm still standing on the Lord, even if I didn't completely know what I was doing at the time. Even if all I knew was like, well, Lord, just help me. I didn't know how to pray, and I'm still learning how to pray. So please don't misunderstand it. I'm still learning, but the things that used to scare me off, they don't scare me the same anymore, because I'm gonna just give it to God. So for some of you, please be very mindful of that the Lord is putting you in certain places so that you can make sure that you can stand, you can hold it down, and you can stand your own. And you're not going to allow the enemy to run you off, because wherever the Lord is putting you, it's a stepping stone to the next level of your blessing. It's a stepping stone to the next level of your inheritance. But you got to be able to stand firm. Even if I don't care if it's in a room with 2 people. If he put you in that room, you better be able to stand up to them 2 people, and any of the tricks, the schemes, the traps, the snares of the enemy. You got to be able to stand in that place. And when the Lord knows it, he has strengthened you to the point to stand in that place, then he can elevate you and put you somewhere else. But it's the levels of learning that we have to go through, y'all, the levels of processing. This is why when you message, this is why, thank you so much for the blessing, dearest one. This is why when you go into these new places, may it be multiplied and returned back to you. This is why when you go into these new places and spaces, this is why, don't let these folks get you out of character. Don't let them trick you. You're not going to do it. Do not do it. Don't let these folks trick you out your blessing. Don't let them, and sometimes, I said this the other day, sometimes just laugh in the enemy face. You'll be surprised how sometimes just laughing and letting the enemy know that the jig is up, that we not even playing the same game, baby. Y'all trying to come at somebody who's chosen. Like there's nothing that the enemy can do to you when you know that God has your back. When you know that God has you exactly where God wants you to be. When you allow the Lord to lead you and guide you and direct you, it ain't nothing that the enemy can throw at you, because you know who has your back. So for some of you, as the Lord puts you in new places and spaces, remember, you have been processed in the wilderness. You've been training in the wilderness. You've been being prepared in the wilderness. Some of you, if you're coming out of isolation and the Lord is reintroducing you into society, you're going to be more receptive. You're going to see the things that the enemy is doing. And maybe you hadn't been exposed to that because you've been over here spending your time with the Lord, but he's going to give you a slow introduction into dealing with people. Just so be prepared for that, y'all. Because many of you, he's getting ready to upgrade your rooms, and he needs you to be able to stand, because it's not like it's all going to be people of God. It's not like it's going to be all believers in these places that you're in. It's not. You're going to be in places with believers, unbelievers, dark, light. He's putting you, whatever industry he's sending you into, wherever he's sending you. Many times you're going to be the light in those situations. But let your light speak for itself. Okay, let your light speak for itself. So this is why, the Lord will prepare you and make sure that you have your character intact, your integrity intact. You ain't gonna blow up and go off on folks. You ain't gonna, no, we're not gonna do all of that. We don't even reside in that energy. But you can laugh, because you can laugh at it, but just keep it moving and be like, man, I'm not even on that type of time. If he sends you somewhere to learn, then learn. If he sends you somewhere to grow, then grow. If he sends you somewhere to lead, then lead. You're going to have to deal with all different types of people, and some people may be walking in the light, and that's cool, but and it may be different from your walk or your what you think or how you walk in the light. Doesn't mean that it's bad. um but this is also about, you can pray for the Lord to increase your discernment to know the difference, who to deal with. And there's some stuff that you just like, nah, I'm not even on that. I'm not going to partake of that. I'm just not on that. I'm not in that energy. And so just be mindful of that, because yes, the Lord is getting ready to put some of you in places, and you got to be able to stand your ground and know who to deal with. You can still deal with people. Speaking, thank y'all, Kevin Hart, he said something about there were rooms that he knew people didn't like him in. He knew he wasn't, necessarily qualified to be there, but you never know. Later on down the line, you may end up, those same people may end up circling back some kind of way. So that's why you don't go in there mistreating anybody. You don't do none of that, but you don't have to stoop to their level. You don't have to play their games. You don't have to do none of that. You can just go in there and be who you are, be yourself. You don't have to, this is conversing. You can talk to people, but you ain't got to necessarily, like, you don't have to entertain every conversation. Speak when you feel like you want to speak, but you don't have to be drawn into stuff. It's just things that the Lord will teach you, y'all. But this is where you really just learn to listen to him. And he's just like, don't entertain that. Don't be bothered with that. Don't get involved in that. And because he knows better than we know. So this is why you got to listen to your spirituals. If you just like, oh, okay, you can be cordial, you can be conversant, or you can say nothing, but it's not being, what's the word? I don't even know what the word was y'all just said. Like, just learning how to deal with people. Just learning how to, just learning how to deal with people. Okay. Just learning how to deal with people. And for some of you, this is just an everyday thing. The Lord beating could have showed you how somebody really feel, and you can still, even if you know somebody playing in your face, you can still just be the same person that you are. Just like, and I always give this example because this is the way the Lord taught it to me. Just the same way that Jesus was able to deal with Judas, all in his face, playing in his face, and he didn't let him know none. He wasn't none the wiser that Jesus knew exactly who he was. It's that kind of, if whenever you feel like, it's just like, just remember, Jesus already went through this. He gave us the perfect example of how you can still love someone even if you know that they don't have your best intentions. You don't have to deal with them. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know us. We gonna be like, I ain't gonna be able to do it. And I'm not gonna play in nobody's face. Like, I'm just not. I'm not that person. I can be nice. I can be nice and cordial, and I'll speak. And most times I'm at a point in my life where the Lord has worked with me so much about this that you may not even know that I really don't, like, I don't fool with you for real. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I can still just be a very nice person to you, but that's as much as you're gonna get. So for some of you, the Lord is also going to teach you just how much to deal with folks, like, and that's just part of the lesson. He's gonna teach you how far to deal with folks, how much to give of yourself as well. I used to be that person, y'all. Again, hard lessons that I've had to learn. I used to be that person, and this is not that long ago, but I just want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I just want everybody to be great until the Lord says, not that. And so, but I used to be that person that just wanted to be friends and great with everybody, but you can't be that with everybody. And so again, hard lessons that I've had to learn. But I understand now what I didn't understand then. You have to let people be who they are, but you also have to be who you are, if that makes sense. So anyway, whoever needed that message. So that's it. I think that's all I got. That's all my notes. I think that's everything. I done covered everything. I don't know. Yes, so clearly somebody's gonna go into some new establishment. So just be ready when be ready. Clothed with righteousness. Thank y'all. Clothed with righteousness. Clothed with your relationship with God being at the forefront. That's how you're going to distinguish yourself. That's how people are going to know It's like that's how people are going to see the difference between you and other people. It's like wearing the clothes, like being clothed with righteousness, being clothed with that relationship, with that level of understanding that you have with God, like allowing people to see that within you. Okay. So I hope that helps somebody. That's all I got, y'all. That's all I got. I think I said this already. Jeremiah, I don't even know what the last message was that I put out. I think we're getting ready to start Jeremiah 32 tomorrow, and then Jeremiah 33 is broken up into 3 different messages. There's some of the messages, if the Lord tells me, then I'm going to be, because if I have a lot of notes on a particular chapter, and I should have listened when he told me this for Jeremiah 31, but I didn't. So if I have like a lot of notes that he's given me and things that he has told me is important, then I will be splitting those up. So every message may not have Bible study on it. That's what I've been doing, but he had me in Jeremiah 33 for like 3 days. So just be mindful of that. Okay. You said you can't be the same person in different rooms. I agree. I feel I'm moving away from certain things and people. Yeah, it's a true story, Sandy. Like you can't. I just feel like we're in a season of growth. We're in a season of growth, and it's not that, I don't even know how, well, I don't want to say it like that. I just feel like we're in a season of growth. And I feel like if the Lord is showing you what you need to see, then you have to trust it. And and this is something the Lord is working with me on, right? Because I'm that person that'll just keep staying. Like I've been that person. I'm that person, like, and I'll use this as an example. And this is just a true story. Was it last year? I want to say it was last year. What was it that I had going last year that I ended up, the Lord was just like, that's it. It's a done deal. TU. We'll use TU as an example, right? TU was like my third, I want to say TU was maybe my third time doing the same thing. The first time, or maybe it was the second. No, it was the third. The first time, it was JTA. Me and my sister just had a conversation about walking in every room like God sent me, period. The first time, it was JTA. And it was great. Like it was great, right? And I was so excited about it. But at the same time, the Lord, it was when I wasn't even I wasn't even on this type of time with the Lord at that time. So it came a point where it was no longer resonating with me. So I had to let it go. The next time, it was the community, which we still have here, right? Because this is our community. So the next time, it was the community. I did the same thing, and it ended up, it's just like, no, this wasn't the fit. This wasn't the move, right? So that was the second time. The third time was TU, and that was when, like, was that last year, y'all? And the Lord was literally like, this is not what I'm calling you to do. And it's not, because we need the community, which is what we have here. But the way that I was trying to do to implement the community, if you will, was not the way that the Lord was trying to get me to do that. And I kept on trying to do the same thing over and over and over. And the Lord, by this time, the Lord was like, that is not it. You either gonna listen. So that's why I told y'all, I was just like, y'all, this ain't what the Lord is telling me to do. This ain't, it wasn't what because it was 3 different times. And every time, the first time, every time it was me thinking that I was doing the right thing, but the Lord was like, this is not what I'm calling you to do. And so it wasn't, so that's the best example I have, that it just wasn't aligned with me. It wasn't what God was calling me to do at that time. But I kept on trying to force that into being, and it wasn't working out. And so you just have to understand, like, it was helpful in the fact of giving me the experience of connecting with people, building one-on-one relationships, building a community, but that wasn't the way that he wanted to be built. So and there were certain people who, as we know, are no longer in alignment. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are people who are with you for a season. There are people who will be with you for a lifetime. There are people who are only meant to be there in that moment. So it was me understanding that this was not what he was calling me to do, as evidenced by when it was gone, and many of the people who were there are no longer around. Does that make sense? And there's nothing wrong with that. People have to grow. You receive what you need to receive from the people at that time. And then when it's time to move on, then you move on. So that's literally what happened. But it also was just preparation for him to put me in different places, in different spaces, and around different people, to be able to navigate and deal with people of all different, because again, I've been in isolation for years, y'all. It ain't just been the last 2. Like, I ain't been around people since like 2020. And so when the Lord sent us in for the I've been inside since then. And so now him introducing me back to around people, those were just introductory steps. Understanding people, being able to read the room, stuff like that. And so you outgrow. You outgrow situations, and you can't, because what I also found, and I told y'all this last year with TU, a lot of times when if you're in a community setting like that, if you're trying to grow, you're trying to pull everybody with you. Like, and this is me, and this is no offense to anyone, but the Lord has all of us growing at different rates, in different places, in different ways. But what I realized, and why the Lord said, this ain't what I have for you, is because I was keeping myself, because I was still trying to pull everybody to where I was. Y'all come up here, y'all come on, do this. And then, but everybody wasn't at that point, if that makes sense. So I found myself doing something that was familiar to me. I was always willing to wait for everybody to try to catch up to me, to get to where I felt like I was, or where God has shown me that I was. And so instead of me doing what the Lord was telling me to do, instead of me coming higher, I was trying to wait to be at everybody else's pace. And that was something that the Lord has had to break me out of, because I will keep myself from growing because I want everybody to come with me. Like, well, I don't want to move because such and such ain't ready, or because such and such, like, and the Lord was like, no, that's not where I have you. But this is a pattern that he has had to break off of me, that because I'm that person that wants come on, let's go. But I realized that I would hold myself back, waiting on other people. And this just was not just in that place. This is in relationships. Like, I want everybody to be where I'm at so we can go up together. But he had to teach me that everybody is not ready to go at the same time. So sometimes that's why you have to take your steps by yourself. Sometimes you may walk your journey for a season by yourself, so that the Lord can get you to where he needs you to go. And then the people, that's when he started telling me, you either gonna catch up or keep up, because I kept wanting everybody to be at the same place I was, and he was like, everybody's not there. And so it took for me to realize that we all grow at different levels. And finally, he just was like, that's why TU was like, it's a wrap. Like, no, that's not where I have you right now. And so that's ultimately why I ended up having to let that go. Because yes, and it's just about understanding. It's about understanding the people who are meant to move forward with you and who are not. There are certain things that the Lord will just reveal to you, and it's the thing about it is, and sometimes it's hard, because there are people who have grown more than me, and I'm not ready for where they are. Does that make sense? Like, it's just about understanding we all grow at different in our own time. And so you just learn how to move different. The Lord, the way he positions you and where he positions you, you just have to, that's just where you have to be. So sometimes it's just, it just be, I don't know. That's it. That's all I can say on that. So it's just me, it's a learning experience for me. Yes, learning to move away from people, learning when to let go, just learning and growing. So true story. And yes, walking in rooms like I own it, I'm completely, but it's not it's not cockiness. I'm just very confident in who I am. And this is what's crazy. Let me say this real quick. I used to be that person, y'all, who let me say this. This is what the Lord has had to work on me about. My Aquarius South Node energy is heavy, heavy on just blending in. Just, this is where that diminishing your light comes from. My Aquarius South Node energy be making me want to be in the background. I don't want to stand out. I don't want to, draw attention to myself. I ain't never been a person who has felt like they needed the center of attention. I've never been that person. But what the Lord said is, you're going to have to get some attention. And the way that he took me through that was just, in this life, in this iteration, he's like, you can't be afraid to stand out. You can't be afraid to be different. You can't be afraid to be a rebel. You can't be afraid to draw attention to yourself. Because I've always been that person that I didn't want the attention. I'm not doing anything for attention. Like, I've never been that person. But what he made me realize was that he has created all of us to stand out in our own way. And so the way he taught me this was even through creating the message decks. And because it was something that you hadn't really seen it. It hadn't, it hasn't been done. Like, I'm like, you want me to put scripture on tarot cards? He's like, yeah, because I didn't put you here to blend in with the crowd. I put you here to do something different. I put you here to be unique. And he taught me that also through, making me be okay with doing the most crazy colors and eyeshadows, and which y'all know I love my eye pop. Okay, I love my eye pop eyeshadows because I don't want my makeup to look like everybody else. I don't want to look like everybody else. But he had to take me through an understanding that you're not supposed to be like everybody else. Do something that makes you different. Do something that makes you unique. Do something that makes you stand out, right? And so he had to teach me about that. Yes, I had to let a lot go, especially people I felt like I was holding to, but they wasn't there like I was. And it happens, right? It happens, and it's sometimes we just outgrow people. We outgrow people, and it's not a negative thing. I just feel like we all just kind of are learning our place, y'all. I just feel like we're just kind of learning how to show up in the world and how the Lord wants us to show up. And also, well, because this is something that the Lord has told me as well recently. It's also about understanding people with the right heart posture, the right intentions, the right motives. As well. And I think that's a big part of what the Lord is showing us, is that, and also something, let me say this, and also something he showed me as well is that I have had issues with codependence, but I can also detach really easily. But he's shown me how we have to sometimes learn that And he showed me this through a reel, that there are people that you don't have to talk to every day, but that doesn't mean that you don't love them, or you know what I'm saying, like you don't have a relationship with them. And he's taught me how to learn how to respect people as they are, because I have had to learn that everybody ain't like me. Everybody doesn't, some people want to talk all the time. Some people want to, you know be on the phone all the time. Some people need to be talked to every day. And because the Lord has had me in isolation for years, I'm no longer that person. Like, just because I don't talk to my children every day. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't make me love them any less. It's like understanding the healthy dynamics of relationships and even friendships, is that we oftentimes want people to be and think like we think. But he's had to teach me that people are not like that. So what you may need is not something that someone else may need. And so you can't make other people accountable for something, especially if they don't even know that you want that kind of relationship from them. Does that make sense? Some people don't need to be talked to every day. Some people are good if I talk to you once every 6 months, or if we tap in once every 2 or 3 months, then we're okay with that. But it's about also, and he had to teach me, like, if you want a certain type of relationship with somebody, then you need to let that person know that. Because just because I may be a person who's good with only talking to someone every 6 months, that may not be the type of person that you are. Does that make sense? So he had to teach me that, to where if that's what you need, then you're either going to have to express that, or because what the way he showed me that is that it can actually create animosity and enmity when there's actually none there. You may feel some type of way, and this is not me saying this to you, this is what the lesson was for me. You may feel some type of way because of the way a person is dealing with you, but that just may be how they deal with everybody. It may not be anything that person is necessarily doing just to you. That might just be that person. But you can be offended by something and a person not even know that you're offending them. Does that make sense? Because you're expecting them to have the kind of relationship with you that you want them to have, but they don't know anything about that. So it was just something that the Lord has had to teach me about people, that if you don't know what somebody wants, then how can you expect it from them if you don't say that? Or like he gave me, even giving the example of, there are times when the Lord will put people in isolation and not have them really dealing with anyone, and maybe they're not expressing that to you, but maybe they didn't feel like they needed to. Right? Exactly. Communication is key. So you may take offense to something that really there's no offense about, but if you ain't said that, then how do you know? How's that person supposed to know? And if it's just about, you got to be able to talk to people about that, right? Some people, people just are who they are, and we have to be able to respect them and allow them to be who they are without being offended with who they are. But that's just something he had to teach me, and he taught me that through my children, because it was a lesson to learn. I had to learn this lesson through my children. And I have, me even telling them, like, okay, do you want and I've mentioned this before, if they need me for something, okay, do you want my advice or do you want me to just listen? It's about learning to establish the kinds of relationships that you want to have with people. But he taught me that through my children. So that's why I say that. Like, I used to feel some type of way, but the Lord was like, you have to let people be who they are. I have or had a best friend who we talked every 2 or 4 months. We would catch up on B days, but last year we sent up our time and date to catch up. I called and no answer and no call back. Yeah. So yeah, especially those. And this is the thing, y'all. Like, I don't know, because I'm be honest, I don't really like the people. Y'all are pretty much the only people that I really talk to. And I don't talk to many of y'all outside of here, but I talk to y'all on the lives all the time. So y'all pretty much know what I have going on. But the people, I'm be honest, the people who I used to be cool with, It ain't no conversation. Like, and there's nothing, it's not a bad thing. And, you know, when you're speaking on like a best friend, like the best friends I used to have, I'm on a different level of growth. And so maybe, you know, I'm in a different place now. I'm a different person now. And I'm using myself as an example because I don't know your friend, but the people who, the person, like, just example, the person who used to be my best friend back in the Gap, we ain't on the same type of time no more. Like, we're not on the same type of time anymore. And so we don't, because I'm on a mission for God and they're not serving God. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can grow apart from people, especially if you are in alignment with God's will for your life, and maybe they're not there anymore. And so the conversation, we talked about that earlier. The conversation ain't gonna be the same. Y'all ain't gonna have a lot to talk about because they not gonna want to hear you talk about God, or they're not going to want to hear you, you know, talking about business. And, you know, it's not that you're better than anyone. It's simply, there's a difference now. There's things that you've changed. Maybe, and just as an example, now they may still be clubbing, or they, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they ain't at a point where they done got their life right, and you have. And so it's unequally yoked. Thank you, Lord. It's unequally yoked. And we all oftentimes think about that in the form of like relationships, but it's friendships as well. But it's why it can sometimes hurt so bad to have to let folks go, because you like, man, that's my ride or die. That's my ace. But then the Lord will start taking you in a different direction, and they may not be ready for that direction. And so that's when you start to separate from people. You get closer to God, maybe they get further away. And so now it's unequally yoked. And honestly, and this is actually in my notes as well, y'all, like one of the things that can like take strength away from us is being unequally yoked. And that's why the Lord will start to remove you and put you around people who are on that same level, because you'll find yourself being drained, because you're, again, you trying to pull people up who not ready to be at the level that you're at. You using all your strength to try to hold on to them, holding on, but you don't understand why you tired, and you don't understand why you know what I'm saying, you don't have any strength to do what God is asking you to do. But sometimes we're holding on to our past so tightly that we can't step into our present. And it hurts to let people go, but it's ultimately like, if it's God telling you that this is not going, you know, you gonna have to let go. Because this is not you just saying, oh, I'm cutting everybody else. This is the Lord saying, you gonna have to let them go for a season, because I need you to go up. I need you to grow. I need you to move in a new direction, because many times that's what we're praying for. And so if we holding on to people who ain't even holding on to us. So sometimes the Lord will tell us to let those folks go. That was enough for me. I felt like our tradition was our bond. So now all we do is say happy holidays. And sometimes that's enough, right? I used to be hurt when people didn't call. I've been through some things and isolated myself. I learned to give them grace, because their life might be taking them in that direction as well. Absolutely. And y'all, grace, grace, the Lord has taught me so much about it. Sometimes you just got to give people grace, man. Sometimes you got to let people deal with what they're dealing with the way that they deal with it. There are some people who need to be isolated to just process what they're going through. There are some people who need to talk everything out and want somebody there. You just got to let people deal with, and you know, you just got to let people deal how they deal. And I think that's been the hardest. And again, this is learning this through the experience of my children, y'all. Sometimes as a parent, you want to jump in, you want to take over, you want to do everything, and the Lord will be like, you got to let them grow. you got to let them go through their experience. The Lord, whatever is happening, the Lord is taking us through it. And there have been times where, I'm like, okay, I know my kids got something going on and I'm not hearing nothing from them. I might shoot them a text. They might respond like message. They might respond. I shoot them another text, and you know what I'm saying? And so it's me message really having to learn that, y'all. Like, you have to let people deal with things, with themselves, with their life, how they deal. And if happy holidays is where y'all are at, that might be okay. And you never know. Sometimes everyone ain't gone forever. They may just be gone for a season. So maybe it'll come back. Maybe the bond will re-strengthen. You can always hold out hope for that, but you just got to be like, like Sandy said, you give people grace, man, and just let them, because you never know what somebody else is going through. You never know. You never know what the Lord has somebody else going through. And I've had to learn that sometimes the Lord will tell you, just leave them be. Leave them alone. They are right. You can check in on them. If they respond, they respond. If they don't, they don't. I've learned not to try to push relationships. I'm just now. I just let people be. I just let people be who they are in this season, and I'm grateful because people allow me to be who I am as well. But I also know that the Lord will, if He removes people from your life, He will also replace them. So, yeah, you can definitely be on different paths, and everybody ain't gonna understand your path or understand your determination. It was something, and the Lord talked to me a lot about this, like in regards to romantic relationships, even, that a lot of times, because I told the Lord this, I was like, Daddy, when you do bring me a husband, right? When you do bring me a husband, he's got to be a man of God, because otherwise he would not understand my relationship with God. And I think there's somewhere in the Bible, and I hadn't read it yet, but it was like there was somebody, and the Lord made him, whoever this person was, y'all don't quote me, but He made them be in this relationship with this adulterous woman, and he eventually had to go and save her. But I told the Lord, I was like, not me. Please don't do that, because He wouldn't, if it's not somebody who has their own relationship with God, He wouldn't understand my relationship with God. And he would probably even find himself being jealous of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's just me understanding and asking the Lord for the things that I want and not the things that I don't. So I have definitely said to myself, like, Lord, don't do, like, and I don't feel like He will, because it's unequally yoked. And yeah, like, we've done that. And that's the thing. I have experience with that. So I don't want to be in those types of relationships anymore. And so me decreeing and declaring, like, Lord, don't send me that, because it ain't gonna work out. And who has time for that? Like, who has time for that? So it be like that, y'all. It be like that, being on different paths. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard. But one thing the Lord has definitely talked to me a lot about is, if He's giving you a vision, if He's giving you an assignment, are you going to put your assignment on hold in order to make somebody else happy? God has told me to be quiet many times and not to take things so personal. Yeah. 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 I even look, y'all, I probably lost my volume. Let me go, because my kids, speaking of which, my kids are blowing my phone up. So that's all I got. Lord, I hope this helps somebody. Let me go answer these cheering, child, because 2 of them didn't call me. So let me go see what they want. Y'all, hydrate your soul and things. Drink your water. Say your gratitude. Have a fantastic and an amazing day in purpose, on purpose. And I will see y'all on next weekend. I love y'all in real life. Love y'all. Bye, y'all. You're welcome.